The New York December auctions are coming up, so let's sit down and take a look at some crazy rare and exclusive watches on offer. Hey everybody, we are sitting here with Sotheby's with my good friend Jonathan Burford. We're sitting in Geneva, but we're going to be looking at some of the highlights for their upcoming December New York sale. So luckily this video will come out before the sale happens, so if you're interested in any of the watches, you'll have plenty of time to look at them. Hit up Jonathan here for more pictures and information. And as he was telling me before, there are 150 lots in the sale, a lot of amazing watches, but only the highlights are here in Geneva. So he pulled out some heavy hitters for us. We're going to walk through them. He's going to talk to us about them and show us some really sick watches I'm looking at.
There's going to be about another 300 watches in the online sale that are concurrent with this. So there'll be about 450 watches going over. It'll conclude on the 7th of December and everything will be on preview from the 1st of December. Right?
Much to my detriment, I will say, guys, take a look because there's always stuff that slips through the cracks when there's that many watches in an online sale. So you could get some good deals and some good watches from Sotheby's who are great. So what do we got on the table here today?
So we've gone...
What are we starting with?
Well, we'll see. We've got all vintage. So they'll be the right things for you. We've got with heavy hitters, but that's really because what we've got coming from New York on highlights out here.
Okay.
Tasti Tondi, 1463, 6241 Paul Newman Daytona in 14 karat gold, and Overtone in pink gold. This is the first time this has seen the daylight since 1956, 57 when it was bought in South Korea.
Okay.
An original Milgauss in amazing condition.
Okay.
All rather beautiful.
What do you want to start with?
Let's go this. So two things I want to I think are interesting to look at because of what happened earlier in the year. Two world records were broken in May this year, and so we have two watches that are really going to see where the market is at, because we know that market was slightly skewed by the entrance of the buyer who bought those two watches.
Are we allowed to say?
I mean, we can't say who bought the JPS, but I think you've implied it before. Who bought the ones in...
Let's just say they know how to make a watch.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
And they might be entering an institution, hopefully soon, for public.
They're going to do a museum?
I think. That has to be the assumption.
They should. They bought some incredible stuff.
They've also bought the best of the best, right? So...
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at this watch. And
this is where we go.
So let's start with that.
Okay, so yeah, this is a 6241 in 14 karat gold with a Paul Newman dial on it.
But what's this Paul Newman dial called?
JPS.
JPS.
After the 1970s Lotus F1 racing team, this color combination has become basically the most desirable of all the Paul Newman Daytonas, I would say. In 6241.
I would say one of them, and I would say, lemon dials for the gold Newmans are up there as well, but the problem is there's so much more. It's easier to find a JPS than it is a Lex.
I think it's a more active market, right? More of it come to market. You can kind of really see where values are, and you can kind of peg them to the quality of the watch.
Right.
This one...
And the quality on this one is phenomenal. I mean, guys, just to give you, before he talks about the watch, I'm just, looking at this watch and, listen, these watches are old, and a lot of the times, there's lume missing or chipped, or there's scratches on the dial, the cases have been overpolished. Stuff we've talked about on the channel multiple times. And also with these, they have a Bakelite bezel, which often get cracked easily.
Delaminate.
Delaminate, yeah. I'm looking at this, and it's got to be one of the nicest in the world. The lume looks absolutely perfect.
Professional family owner, they picked up the phone to Sotheby's. It's like hasn't seen the light of day before.
Unpolished. Look at how crisp those pinholes are. I mean, wow. This is just a wow example. And generally, I would say, even though the 14 karat case watches are technically rare, they tend to sell less than their 18 karat counterparts. They're less desirable for whatever reason. Certain markets don't really like them. But I think when you're looking at a watch like this, in this condition, this configuration, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter 14 karat, 18 karat. I personally like 14 karat because you get, and I'll try to get it on video for you.
And you get the patina.
You get the patina. The 18 karats don't patina the way 14 karats do. You get this like beautiful rich patina, so it makes it almost look like a rose case in some cases.
I mean, the only other things I'd point out is like
the case, even the case back sharp, the ridge on the case back.
So often these when they haven't come on a bracelet, so you're looking for, you're looking to see where people's tools have been used to change the bracelet. There's I'd say the strap has been changed. It's like 3 or 4 times, but the hallmarks, literally as you'd see them coming out of the factory, the case back, you can see the original brushing. It's one of those examples. If you're ever going to try one of these, you want to get one of the best ones. This will be you want to get a better one.
What he's describing is what you're generally looking for when you're assessing the condition on these watches, like the depth of the hallmarks, the polishing on the case, the condition of the dial. This watch checks all the boxes. What's the estimate on this?
400,000 to 600,000.
Ha. So tell us all, was that honestly left intentionally low to draw interest, or just the consignor was reasonable?
I think so. It was a colleague of mine in New York who consigned it, so I don't know the sort of mechanics how they got to it, but it's a private family. They know the value where it should be on the watch.
So they know what they have.
Yeah, exactly. It's an estimate from like 3 years ago, right? Before there's been this bit of the spike. But realistically, this is what we were putting on them for years. We've been putting 400.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, even 350. I mean, Van Cleef one I sold it was Heritage. I mean, that was a 350 to 550s. So we've sort of priced it where the market was, and let's see where it goes.
I have a number in my head. Best guess. Put you on the spot. What do you think it'll sell for?
I think
all in.
$1.1 million.
I was going to say $1.3 million, $1.4 million. Okay.
I mean, like, I'm naturally conservative, but you'd expect me to be being.
Yeah. I mean, the one that he who shall not be named bought last season was $2 million.
Yeah,
that was them.
Yeah.
You know, but even I think without them, that watch still sells well.
Underbidder, right? There was very aggressive underbid.
Right.
But once it got over $2 million, like, it's a big number on effectively a watch. It does come up relatively regularly.
Yeah, and a watch that though can be sourced under $2 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Oh, fantastic example. Congratulations. All right, what do we have next?
Next, I want to go to Milgauss. Again, we saw a Milgauss go absolute gangbusters in May this year.
May or may not have been the same buyer.
It could well have been. There is certainly speculation. I mean, the thing is that I think particularly with that one, both of these results reflected, one, the aggressiveness and determination of the buyer, but also the quality of the watches.
Sure.
But they are outliers.
Yeah.
The one result doesn't set a market. Just if you...
Thank you for saying.
Yeah, if that price comes, like, everybody... We get 50 phone calls after an auction and a great result comes through. Hey, I've got an identical watch. Can you get me $2 million on mine? You know, one, you've got to put an estimate on it to attract buyers to come into it. Two, it's got to be the quality of it. And three, there's an element of luck.
There's a colleague of mine who said during a panel discussion that 3 results sets a market.
Exactly.
One is an outlier.
Yeah.
And the watch you're speaking of in last season, which was at Philips, estimated at 500 to $1 million, which they called new old stock.
And the other thing they're going to remember is that if 2 sell, you've got the bidder, the underbidder. There might not have been another bidder.
Right. It could have just been 2 people going crazy. And I thought that watch might have failed to get a bid at 500.
I thought it was aggressive.
Yeah, I thought it was very aggressive. And then it blew out that selling for millions of dollars, So tell us about this one a little bit.
I mean, it comes from a very prestigious collection. It is in terms of its sort of
quality, looks fantastic.
Yeah, like, it's a really lovely version.
Right.
It's incredible condition. There's 2 types of provenance. There's the provenance where it's original family owner. We know it's never been offered before a market, etc., which is something like this, right? Comes from a family, first time you'll ever get the opportunity to do it. This is the other kind of provenance, and it comes from one of the most important domestic USA collections.
Okay.
So it comes from someone who has literally only been buying the best for the last 15 years. He's slowly beginning to sort of manipulate his collection a little bit to just trim out some pieces.
Sure.
And so this is a really beautiful example. And again, I think we have it at 180, which
I think is reasonable. So it's a reference 6541 Milgauss, which was the very first reference Milgauss, which was Rolex's tool watch to counteract electromagnetic field for scientists, doctors, or anybody who worked in a field that could possibly be affected by electric wave, messing up with their watch. They made this watch in the 50s. They made it in smooth bezel, which is this version, so just a regular smooth bezel like you see on a datejust.
Fixed bezel,
Yeah, fixed bezel you could call it, and a rotating black bezel. I personally like the smooth bezels better aesthetically. The market tends to like the black rotating bezels better, but the condition on this watch looks fantastic.
It's really interesting to see the lug proportions, because they were worn by people who were working in laboratories or in universities. They used to have them polished. And I see the full proportions with the smooth bevel.
So the watch has been polished, but it's got a nice thick case. You can still see some of the original bevels. The dial, though, is fantastic.
Not many of them about, right? They're quirky watches at the time.
Right.
Not many were sold, so they don't come up. Right?
For whatever reason, this ribbed guilloche style dial would get pitting underneath it. So often you'll see examples with a lot of pitting. This dial, absolutely perfect. It has a little brown to it. Yeah, a little tropical. And it's no lume, so you don't really get the effects of any radium wearing on the dial. Really solid example. I would expect this to sell pretty well. I think the estimate is right there.
Yeah. So the interesting, I've consigned a couple of these in the past, and then also a lot of 1019s in the past. And a lot of them come from in the Bay Area of San Francisco, because that's where they were doing a lot of like atom collider. So they were working.
It's funny because I know a couple collectors who have 6541s there, So what do we got left? We got 2 left.
2 watches left.
Then I'll let you get back to the previews. I know you guys are busy. Got a big sale.
A lot on, and you need to get bidding.
Yeah, well, Philips is today. It's all right.
So this is one of my favorites. Like, it's a 3-hander Rolex. Objectively, it's a datejust. I've been making them since the mid-50s. This is probably...
That's just not any datejust.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't downplay it.
This is a 6105 in pink gold. The consignor's father bought it on his way back from South Korea, having served in the US Army in the 50s. He came back to the US, was living in your neck of the woods in Florida. Got back and thought it looked too flash for someone who was essentially an army grunt. So he put it in a safety deposit box. He died in 2014, and the watch then came to his son, who moved to Alaska and finally thought that maybe it's time to come. You look at this watch, and again, it almost looks like a facsimile of the watch that would have left the factory. This thing is unbelievable. I mean, the condition is incredible.
So they call these the ovatone, or big egg, because the case back is bigger than the normal
one. It's halfway between a bubble back.
Exactly. And it's great because it's still the 36 millimeter case size. You know, it's not a smaller size, so it wears very well. But they really are beautiful in this engine turn bezel. It's just killer. It looks super sharp. The case looks very super sharp. And these were radium dials because of the era of which way they were produced. And usually you see a lot of patina on the dial. You see a lot of aging. This one, somebody put this away and just tucked it away. And the interesting thing about this one as well is that it has datejust printed in red. And collectors love when, datejust, Daytona, whatever, red Submariner's printed in red. It gives a little more pop to the dial. So, and it's a little bit rare.
Big gold dagger hour markers, red carousel date window.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the rarest watch you pulled out here by anything. It's probably the most common. They are hard to find, though, in incredibly good condition.
And it's pink. Just don't make them. Probably 9 to 1 of yellow gold.
Really beautiful watch. What's the estimate on this?
40 to 8. Wow. And that's really based on condition. And
I would say that's a little strong, but I think you'll get a bid right around there.
There've been 2 comparable watches in the last 3 or 4 years, and they've both done incredibly well. They were both estimated in the same sort of region.
Right.
But it's sort of rarefied air for what is
for what the condition, for what it is. Yeah, I mean, I've only sold them myself in yellow gold, usually in the 20s range, 20 to 30. Never a pink gold one.
It's so good.
And wow.
Love it.
Stunning watch.
Yeah.
I could see you pulled out a couple watches that, like, you personally. Yeah. Like, I could tell.
These are the ones that speak to me. Right?
Yeah, but this is such
the joy of the job. I mean, how lucky am I? Like, I'll see 400 watches in New York and another, 300 here. And you get to fall in love with these things for a small window of time, and then somebody comes along and loves them as much as you do, and goes the distance. Yeah. And then I start again in January. I'll start with a blank sheet of paper, and we've got to find.
Well, I love my job. I get to wear inventory. It's sold like here wearing Killer Chairman 16528. It's blue dials, Zenith Daytona that you never see. And it'll get sold, and it'll go on to the next home.
Exactly. But you get for that
to enjoy
time, you get to enjoy something incredibly special. And then the growth in sports watches. This was the original sports.
So the last one, only Patek.
So we got a 1463.
One of my favorite references.
Yellow gold with the most extraordinary dial.
It was rose from looking at it.
Yeah, I think that's the aging of it, but it's yellow gold. Really beautiful condition. The little bit of added spices, the dial is aged like creamy, caramelly type. And then just above the Patek signature, we have the lovely Tiffany & Co.
So we got a little spicy extras on it.
So 1960, so they were putting Tiffany & Co. sometimes below the hands, sometimes above the hands. This is above the hand. It's the slightly older script that they use for the Tiffany & Co. stamp.
Don't have my loop on me, but this dial looks like it's never been cleaned, like never been washed, and I say that, understand, we've talked about it before. If you've watched our other videos. Most of these old Pateks, I would even venture to say like 98% of them have been cleaned at some point. The dials have been refreshed, they call it, by Patek, where they either redo the varnish or they just try to make it look newer. But you could still see the enamel on the style, the raised enamel.
There's the misconception that you want to have the enamel really high, but that generally shows it's been sanded.
Right.
Like the balance between the high and...
Yeah, absolutely. And it has a beautiful patina. Now, I've bought some important Pateks that have patina dials, and I've noticed that most big Patek collectors don't like patina on the dial, but it depends on how even it is. Exactly. And this one, wow.
Really cool. I mean, it's
it's like a salmon dial.
Yeah, it's like the yellow gold version of a pink on pink.
Yeah. But wow, what a beautiful watch. Let's look at the case.
And again, these are fresh to market, never seen. This comes from a very important collection. It's a known watch. It's a really, really beautiful.
This is a stunning watch.
200 grand. This was the original Patek sports watch, right? Screw back, waterproof pushers. You could go, splash around in it. Again, we've talked about this before, but when you look at a watch like this, it's everything about it, right? You're not looking at, some watches are spectacular dials, some of them are unpolished case. This is like a really beautiful, everything speaks to the age and the condition of the watch. It all really makes sense as a watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the most popular references for a reason. It's also one of like the bigger size, like more in-your-face pop, chronographs that they made. And this one, especially coupled with brigade numerals, like it just hits all of it hits all of like the collector marks, like
it's the greatest.
Beautiful patina, beautiful case, brigade numerals, Tiffany & Co. I'm assuming Tiffany & Co. extract, or confirmed by the extract. What's the estimate on this watch?
200 to 400.
That's. I mean, listen, I have in my pocket actually right now a yellow gold 1463 regular, not brigade numeral, not Tiffany. mint condition, and I'm asking $185,000 for that watch.
Yeah.
So this is not much more for Breguet, Tiffany.
Exactly.
We'll see what it sells.
Yeah.
And you say that like, oh, it's not that much more money, and then it sells for
and also 200 plus BP.
Right.
So it's good, it is
right,
but it is.
But it's a special watch.
There's not many of these available.
Wow. I think. All right. So I think this would be my favorite of the 5. What's your favorite?
I mean, I've always been penchant for these, but but I have to say, like, as I get slightly older, slightly more mature, I think if I was to wear a watch every day and I could buy that, could buy that, I think I would. I think the 1463, like, it does everything that I want. It's the right size, the condition of that one, everything.
It's just classic.
Yeah.
Absolutely classic. And I would say from a condition standpoint, that JPS is hard to beat.
Yeah.
But from a strictly emotional, like, what do I want to have?
This talks to the heart.
Yeah. This is a great watch. Well, it seems like you got some fantastic watches.
Yeah.
Sale coming up in December. When is the sale?
It'll be on the 7th of December at 10 o'clock New York time. So it got...
Okay. And the catalog goes live when?
The catalog will probably a fortnight from here. So, like, I don't know, about on the 14th of November.
Okay, so probably right around the time this video will come out.
Previewing in LA on the 14th, and then we'll be 15th, 16th, and then straight on to New York. We're open from the 31st, I think. And literally 400 watches laid out until you can come and see literally everything.
No, Sotheby's has the best previews because they have such great people on staff who are always willing to help, and the watches are just kind of laid out so you can walk around the room and see what's what, and it's easy to get your hands on them to handle and I just check them out.
Like, it's the most important thing for everybody either getting into watches or it doesn't. If you're chasing a particular watch, that's one thing, but come and see 400 watches, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll see so many things. You're like, holy, I didn't realize this was so beautiful. This was bigger than I thought.
Right.
Smaller.
There's nothing like hands-on experience and seeing a bunch of different things and being able to handle
It's a game changer.
Yeah. So we will link Jonathan's information as always below. Please reach out to him for all of your Sotheby's needs, especially with this sale when the catalog goes live. Make an appointment, go see them, or just swing by.
Open building. Come in when you want.
Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you, mate.
I'll be bidding on a bunch of stuff, and I'll be bidding on the sale too, obviously. Those were some really crazy, awesome, and presumably expensive watches coming up for sale in Sotheby's in just a few weeks. If you're interested in any of them, obviously look at the description below for all information to reach out to Jonathan or Sotheby's directly. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please remember, comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff to help us bump up in the YouTube ratings. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.